What is up, everybody? Welcome back to a Life of Christ YouTube channel. Today I really wanted to encourage you. You see, the other day I took my dog to the vet to have him neutered, and he came home full of medication but with some stitches. And my dog has this issue. Whatever you put on him, if he has a rash with some cream on him, he very quickly goes to lick it off. And as soon as we got home, he was very quick to start picking at those stitches. We quickly reacted. We put some plasters on, and we try to make sure that he doesn't get to it. But we woke up that night, halfway through the night, and we see that Finn has taken off his stitches. We freaked out. We contacted our vet, and we put a cone on him. He wasn't very happy with us. He was actually, I could almost hear him screaming, "Dad, take it off, please." You see, at that moment, there was a revelation that hit into me. There's this really awesome verse that goes, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." You see, sometimes we are in this position where we don't like it, we're not comfortable. We might have been following everything that God has asked us to do, and we're not in a place that we want to be in, really. I've been reading through 2 Timothy for my studies lately, and man, it's an intense book. So before we get into that, let me give you a little background. We see Paul with Peter, and they're in prison at the moment. They're in jail, shackled up. We see that Paul is sitting there knowing that there's this trial that's about to end, where this trial is going to mean he's going to be persecuted as a martyr for his faith. And we see that he's not stoked. He's not happy. In 2 Timothy 1 verse 4, he says, "As I remember your tears, I long to see you, that I may be filled with joy." He's in a tough place to be. I can't imagine he's excited. Being in prison. But how does he react to that? I think that's a question that I don't know. If I was in that position, that would be a hard place to be. I'm sure it was for him. But we see him writing to a very good friend of his, one that he walked with for 15 years. He writes this second letter to Timothy. So you guys know it as to Timothy. And he says here, "Therefore, do not be ashamed of your testimony about the Lord, nor of me, his prisoner, but share in suffering for the gospel by the power of God." How insane is that? He's sitting there in a scary place, and his first thing to say to a friend is, "Man, what I want you to do today is not change the gospel. I want you to not be afraid of it, not be ashamed of it. In fact, I want you to actually," in the previous verse, he says, "keep your fire going." He says, "Yeah, I know that I love you so much, but if you follow what I'm doing, you might end up in the same place as me. You might be beheaded for Rome." And he's going to do it. He's pushing towards it. I hear people from like schools saying, "It's tough. I try to bring it up, and people let me down, and then the repercussions of that might be a tough situation to be in." It's an annoying question to ask, but do your values lie in a friendship? And I'm not saying this to discourage you, but more to encourage you. It says here that, "For I'm not ashamed of the gospel, because it is the power of God that brings salvation to everyone who believes, first to the Jew and then the Gentile." The name of God it's a beautiful and wonderful thing, and when we get to share it, I think that gets to be an encouraging piece to know that we are placing a part in God's kingdom. How awesome is that? From a worldly perspective, let's look at Paul's life. He spent his whole life trying to share the gospel. He got a few churches going. But when he was writing to Timothy, a lot of the churches were backsliding. They were starting false doctrines. Many were leaving out of the fear of the church, and a lot of them were ashamed. Man, that must have been discouraging from a worldly perspective. But Paul isn't here whining about how the churches are not doing right. What he's doing is he's trying to encourage a friend of his to not only carry on doing it, but to do it with the fire and passion of God. I wish I could go to Paul and say, man, you did it. Every nation on earth knows the faith that you've shared. I just wish I could tell him. But you know what? He didn't get to know that. But what he did know was that he was just being a vessel for God. And I think that's what I want to really encourage you is that if you stand there when you might talk to mates, when you are just trying to share the gospel, just know that when you make your decisions, all you gotta do is just have a chat with God and know that you can stand there as a vessel for His kingdom. And so long as that you are doing it for Him and that you're doing it with Him, well, how awesome is that? How can what I think my favorite thing about that is I can stand here full willing knowing that what I've done doesn't come back to me, but because what I've done is what God's asked me to do. Well, how could anything go wrong? From a godly perspective, I think that's a big thing. Take away that worldly perspective. Lean not on your own understanding. That's what I want to end up this with. Is I want you to lean not on your own understanding, trusting in the Lord in the situations where life is tough. So that's what I want to remind you to do. Maybe write it down, maybe read it every day, because man, that is such an encouraging verse to know that we are able to do that. And thank you guys for watching this video. You guys have been awesome for watching this far. Feel free to subscribe, hit that notification bell if you want to, I don't know. But seriously, if you guys need something to pray over, if you need someone to chat to me, here's my Instagram and Facebook, whatever, it's down below in the links. Look, I want to be able to help you guys. It's been a really awesome journey making this YouTube channel, and I'm sorry I haven't been active, but I don't have an excuse. Thank you guys for watching this video. My name's Tristan Paulson, and I'm a life for Christ.